What do you do when you go, excuse me, miss? That's John Keegan. Excuse me, miss. And she says, I'm in a big rush. And the guy's like, oh, shit. Well, I've seen that 4,000 times before, because if a woman's going somewhere, she's going somewhere. So very likely she's going to go somewhere. So I'm not surprised when she says, I've got to go, or any variation upon that. So I have something to say then. I know what to say then. What do you say? Stop. No, don't. No, stay here, because I want to talk to you, and I've just got I'm ready to do my pickup now. Tried that. Doesn't work. So what do you do?
I've got a simple question.
Yeah.
We were talking some last night about, I guess I hear a lot about how there are no lines and there's no specific things to say, but we were talking a little bit about approaching on this.
And I gave you some lines.
And having some lines. And I was wondering if you speak on that a little bit, because I feel like sometimes the mind runs a blank, and actually having a few of those things is the difference between actually going over there and starting the conversation, because you've got something to open with.
Yeah, sure.
And then maybe something to lead with. After maybe you start walking, what's the next what are some other things, just some crutches to get things started, like a little ether on the engine starter.
Sure. Well, look, I can give you lots of lines, but I'd rather give you a story, which is like, what is the potential love story that's about to happen when you meet a stranger? Right? So what is it that I need to do in order to go from complete stranger to this person possibly wanting to see me again? And there is a narrative arc. There are infinite numbers of narrative arcs, but there's common ones that we can move through. So the first one is that and there will be lines and things to say that are attached to each one of those, like let's say story beats. But I don't want you to get too caught up on those particular lines, because then guys become, natural inspired scripts, which tends to be something that comes across very robotically, and then people see that as the answer. Like they see that they're looking for the lines when really it's the underlying story arc that's important. What's a shitty love story that could, or not love story that could happen? What's the narrative? It starts with some thoughts about women or about myself. They're like projecting into the future. Okay, so there she is over there. Before I was aware of this thing of normal men approaching strangers, I didn't feel any of the approach anxiety. I just felt kind of sad, or like, okay, that person's never going to come into my life. But now I have that in my mind, that this is a potential possibility. So I can run a story in my head, which is like, this is this is a completely separate thing to me. It's an object. And I need to go and do some things and say some things to unlock this object, right? So do I have a cool line to say, and I'm projecting that this object over here is probably not going to want to engage with me, right? So that's the start of a shitty story. What would be a better way to start that story? Something that's simple and achievable, right? Because if I project I'm a boss and I'm going to nail this girl and her sister, and women love me and all that, like my subconscious is possibly going to fight against that, right? What's something I know I can probably achieve?
I want to know this person.
In what capacity? Maybe not at a deep... Oh, nice. Yeah. I want to actually meet this person. I want to see this person. All right, so that is the first thing that's the beginning of our story. So therefore, we were talking about the mechanics of approaching a woman who's walking towards you. Okay, so I have a method, right? The girl's walking. Do you want to... May as well show you, right? Yeah, we'll do it like you're walking towards me, so... You don't know me. You're walking along.
Yes, can you speak a bit louder, please?
No. I can, but then I don't want to. So just listen carefully. So back up a bit. Hand goes out. Sorry, pause right here. Right, so it's slow motion. The hand goes out. This is the Jedi stop. So inevitably the person looks and then looks up at me, right? And then what am I doing? That's the one. I'm going to do a smile, one of my 5 smiles that I do in a day. I'm saving it up. They hurt. all right, they see me, and then I slide in and I drop my hand. Right? That's technically, I think, the best way to approach a woman who's walking towards you. Okay, do you want to see it one more time? I mean, it's pretty.
We don't see.
We'll do a couple of. We'll matrix it around. All right, you're a hot chick walking. Hey, just hang on, hot chick. Just. All right, now you're walking along. All right, so I'll show you what not to do. All right, walk past me. You don't know me. Why are you looking at me? You don't know me. Okay, you're doing your thing, being a sexy girl. Yeah, yeah. All right, and then I'm like, oh, hey, okay, it's too late. All right. Hello. All right, thanks. Okay, so, that's the technical way to stop a girl who's coming towards you. But what's really important is what is my intention in that moment, right? What is the story that I wish to start, which is like, I'm curious, I'm friendly, and I'm going to say hi. And there's all sorts of ways, that I might say that. Excuse me, I just saw you from over there. You just have to stop. Whoa. Before you go, and any other variation on hello, right? So, a woman is going to, make a decision in the first seconds about whether she wants to continue this, and it won't be based on the cool line that I had prepared, right? It's going to be based on the intention, on the vibe, on the general energetic resonance of what's happened, and whether she likes the look of me and she thinks that my shirt's cool or whatever. But she's going to be making that based on a subconscious read, all right? So. That's what I want to keep in mind is that, okay, essentially in the initial moments, I'm pulsing warmth and friendliness. I'm giving, actually, right? Because I am a wealthy prince moving through my lands, and I have a sack of coins, and I am flicking them to the peasants. And for you, sir. And if you choose to pick it up, then you can take it, and if you choose to let it drop on the ground, well, that's also fine because I have got a big sack of coins here. So, from that moment, where should the story shift? Because I can go, whoa, stop, Brad shoes, and now I've shifted into the wrong story, which is what? The man who is interested in shoes. Yeah. Anyone ever done that? Like bolted down the street, done a full Saturday game, stop, and going, stop. I just had to come over here and said the hem on that dress is understated but delightful. So that's the story where we are hiding our intention here, right? And any variation upon that, which we've all done, and I mean we have to do in certain circumstances, and most recovering nice guys know this well, right? Which is where I now shield my desire. Now I can blame it on my anxiety, I can blame it on society, I can extrapolate a map around that. But it's better to just recognise that there are directions of where this potential love story can go and which crossroad am I choosing to take, right? So, generally I want to let the woman know why I'm there, which is not actually that I want to fuck her yet. It's not actual sexual intent yet because, sure, I can desire a stranger from a distance and, wish to have sex with that, like, basically object, but I have these 5 intents that we tend to shift through, and this is the underlying narrative from which the words and the actions will come out of. The first one being that I wish to meet or know you or see you, right? How do you look? What's a good way to look someone in the eye? Huh? Yeah, so don't dart between eyes, yeah. And anyone who's gone to like lots of self-development-y types of things, like sometimes I meet those guys lesser than these days, but well, I'll come up and shake your hand and like stare in your eyes for a long time. But they don't see you really. They're just like boring because they're like, I've been told eye contact creates rapport. Why do you look nervous?
Which eye?
That's very not important. Although I have had some tantra dudes say, I can't remember which one. One of them looks into the something. One of them just look in one eye. I mean, we all see out of both of them, I think. So, and there are no silly questions, and thank you for it because it gave me a chance to do a joke. there's quality of eye contact because I can stare and I can do this. I try to whenever I'm speaking to a group, try and touch base with most people. If I don't gaze at you longingly, please don't be offended. But there's a sense of like that I actually want to see you, right? Underneath your clothes, your race, your looks, your whatever else, I want to see the human in you. And these days, I'm an oldish man now, and I don't have time for superficial connections. Although I can have small talk. I can be talking to someone about the weather actually, because I do in Portugal. People talk about the weather a lot. It was Juvia, it was raining, and then it was sunny, and then there'll be rain again. And I quite like those conversations because they can be actually real because we see each other. Right? It's kind of superfluous what we're actually talking about. And when I talk about my 5 principles, the first one being an awareness, right? Why do we need, and we've all heard these buzzwords, presence, awareness, be in the now, the power of now, like to the point where they lose meaning, right? So let's have a think about tell me what does it actually mean to be present? To be in the now. Because you're always in the now in some, we're here. Can't be in any other now.
Thinking about what might be or what has happened.
Stop running scripts.
Yeah, so there's the mind talking to ourselves, giving ourselves some commentary pretty much all the time. And I love it when I talk to clients who they're like, I'm actually like a really analytical kind of guy, and I really tend to overthink things. And I'm like, write down all the thoughts you're having, and I guarantee that they're pretty much this. I'm going to stand up now. Now I'm going to look over here. Am I a bit hungry? No, I already ate, so I'm not hungry. I'm just a bit bored, so maybe I'll walk over here right now. Is that person looking at me? No, they're not looking at me. Like, it's just this boring running commentary. We're just kind of this boring movie, like some art house, Swedish movie or something, just telling ourselves what we're doing. Sometimes we need to be able to think. It's good that we can problem solve, we can nut through things, we can write poetry, we can, imagine things. It's all sorts of cool shit you can do with thoughts. Good thing we have them. But most of the time, especially, I won't say most of the time, especially in the context of seduction or the interplay with man-woman, most of your thoughts are dog shit useless. Mine are too, right? Even though I have all the theory in my head. Right? And I can engineer kind of endless lines, right, for different situations because I've improvised and riffed, and I've been in all of those situations before, right? So, what do you do when you go, "Excuse me, miss," that's John Keegan. "Excuse me, miss," and she says, "I'm in a big rush," and the guy's like, "Oh shit." Well, I've seen that 4,000 times before because if a woman's going somewhere, she's going somewhere. So very likely she's going to go somewhere. So I'm not surprised when she says, "I've got to go," or any variation upon that. So I have something to say then. I know what to say then. What do you say? Stop. No, don't. No, stay here because I want to talk to you. And I've just I'm ready to do my pickup now. Tried that. Doesn't work. So what do you do?
Is the lock with it? Yes.
Forever?
For a minute.
For 2 minutes. And then you're telling her that you're going to disappear. Just tell her 2 or 3 minutes and...
Yeah, right idea. Yes, and by trial and error I figured out that I was like, if I said, oh no. It's okay.
Wow.
It's okay. There is no shame in gravity. In that case, I don't want to hold you up. Let's walk a minute. And off we go. And I do it with that, like I'm ready for that to happen, as opposed to, because you know what makes a man sexy? There's a few things, but there's one I got in my head, which you won't guess because I just asked that. Persistence. No.
Decision making.
It's solving, a mixture of those things. It's solving little problems as they arise, right? Now, persistence could be, if I just said that, then it could be like, I'm going to go and stop this girl, and I'm doing my thing, right? Excuse me, stop. She's like, I'm in a big rush. Hang on a minute. That's persistence without calibration, right? That's without empathy. So, the ability to solve, logistical problems, emotional issues, things with timing, the fact that the problem is that you are two strangers, and what happens when two strangers meet? They feel awkward, and awkwardness is what? Awkward. It is awkward. Awkward. Yes, awkwardness is awkward. But what is it if we were to try and define it?
Uncomfortable.
Yes, it is a discomfort where it's two people pretending that trying to act not awkward whilst feeling awkward. It tends to be, right? Because if two hypothetical total mess dorks came and said, hey, I feel really awkward, and then she's like, me too, then we don't actually, which is cute, I'd like to say that, then it's actually not awkward. It's something we've actually resolved that pressure to some degree, as long as we then move it somewhere, right? Because in this hypothetical, if you say, I feel awkward, and she says, I too, I also, and then we stay there, the pressure will release and the pressure will rise again because we've said it, we've let it out, and now we haven't solved it, right? Now, I'm not saying this is a seduction technique, but I have, for guys that are particularly nervous, right, when they're first starting out, I had a client last week, yes, in New York, it was last week, yep. His father made him come. He was 17. I don't know if that's legal for me to do that, but I did. I just taught him, I didn't touch him. That's legal, fuck you. Anyway, this kid didn't really know what he'd never heard of me. His father had been watching me for years and was living vicariously through the son and thought it was a good idea to send the 17-year-old very dorky kid to James Marshall in Manhattan from Ohio and dump him there and go teach my son. I'm like, fuck, okay. What is my life? What is, 1 week I'm teaching a man to flog women, and then the next one I'm here with this 17-year-old kid trying to go, all right, dude, let's try it. And so he wasn't psychologically prepared for this in any way, and he was fucking terrified, understandably. And so, I tried to do the normal thing with him, like, okay, well, let's start with some warm-ups, and let's, get you understanding pre-frames, and let's work with some direct openers and so on. And it was just not happening. He was just like, oh boy. And, New York women can be pretty, they're like, get the fuck out of here. I was just like, oh, what the fuck? I like New York because it gives you extremely direct feedback, right? Like, no one's pleasantly going to try and make your day better. They'll just tell you their truth in any given moment. So I said to him, all right, let's just try this. Go over and say something along these lines. Hi, I'm Brian, and I've never really talked to any women before, and this is really scary for me, but I've got to start soon. So do you want to chat for a minute? Yeah. Now, I'm not suggesting, everyone's like, not my name instead. That is not seductive, right? It's not something that I would recommend to anyone else. But there's certain situations where we just have to call out the fact, right? Because otherwise we have this crippling mask that we have to hold up, which is fooling nobody, right? So in a situation like that, he went and said that, and then some of the girls were like, what the fuck? And others were like, oh, okay, well, I'm Sarah, and what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, my dad made me come, that man's list. I've got a microphone on. No more truth. Stop. And I'm just there like... I've only been busted on the mics like 3 times. It's always amusing, because like suddenly the girl looks over at you, and I'm just like with the headphones on, I'm like... Suddenly I'm interested in the architecture more than usual. So, the key in that, because if you'd just gone up and said, hey, I've never talked to girls, this is really scary, that releases some of the pressure, but it doesn't create a solution, right? So especially when you don't know what you're fucking doing, you still have to create solutions. The solution was, and therefore, can we have a chat, because this is difficult for me. Right? I've had that at points where I've been overwhelmed with a woman, and I've said, my heart rate is like beating. Look, give me a hand. Put the hand on the heart. That's a sneaky move. Right? Look what you've done to me. All right? So we need to like move this on to something. I'm just going to go with what was your first pet like. All right? The resolution is that I'm moving it somewhere. I call it out and then I move it somewhere. All right? It reminds me, I had one client who was a virgin. Not one, many, but this one particularly. And one day he got to have sex with a girl. There's my story. No. Yes, he did get to have sex with a girl. And he was in the bedroom with her. She was, more experienced in the sense that she'd had sex before. And he was fumbling around with the bra. All right? And then at some point, she just went, stop. You've never done this before, have you? And you know what this baller said? He said, no, I haven't, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I was like, as I was sitting there with the headphones on. For me? Oh. Actually, okay, I'll tell you another story. With no teaching value in it at all. So, at one point when I really needed the money, I had this client who kept getting on. He was really good at cold approach, really charming, and every date ended with nothing. Right, so he was just like had all the dates were failures. So he pleaded with me to shadow him on his dates. Right, and at the time I needed the money, so I'm like, oh, fuck it. So what this involved was him mic'd up, and I would have to go to the bar and have headphones in, and I put a hoodie on and pretended that I was a rapper writing rhymes. All right, that was my cover. So I'd be there when really I'm listening to an awkward date, writing notes of like, stop dropping names. I can see why this isn't working. Anyway, so I figured out what the issue was after a couple of these. And so I think the third or fourth time we did it, the date went really well. And so they left the venue together. And so I got to hail a taxi and say these words, follow that car. And I'm like, yep, I'm kind of James Bond now. Pretty much sleazy James Bond. And literally tailed them to, this is really creepy, tailed them to his house. And then as they got inside and I hear them talking and getting the glass of wine and stuff, I'm thinking, he's wearing a wire. And soon there will be nakedness. I'm really looking forward to the ending of this episode. And so what he did was they get in the bedroom and I can hear the mic ruffling and them starting to make out. And then he goes, hey, listen, I really like you, but I like to take things a little bit slowly. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, like, it'd be good if, like, it's first date, so I think it's probably better if I get you a cab home. And she's like, what the fuck?